Hi there and welcome to Apple World. Diddy currently gets himself in a correctional facility having to deal with penalties that have sent shockwaves through the universe of superstar culture. The music head honcho, who when paraded his sumptuous way of life complete with rich yachts, private planes, and high-profile parties, is presently living an unmistakably unique reality. However, here is the most recent contort in this, as of now dangerous adventure. Bits of gossip are whirling that Diddy has been gone after inside the jail, and it's an extraordinary sort of attack. This supposed occurrence could change everything. Sean Diddy Combs was found in this video entering the recreation area of Hyatt Inn in Midtown Manhattan with others. When specialists from country security examinations approached and separated him, they spotted Combs nabbed and led him out the front entryway in cuffs. DA's capture in September 2024 was at that point standing out as truly newsworthy for its stunning nature. He had been hit with government charges, including long stretches of unspeakable ways of behaving, charges that many accepted would at last bring him down, following quite a while of claimed wrongdoing. However, nobody could have anticipated what might happen once he was imprisoned. Reports have arisen that Diddy was moved out of defensive guardianship and into the overall jail populace. This choice, made by the Metropolitan Confinement Community (MDC) in Brooklyn, where Diddy is right now held, has been called a huge botch. It's here that things supposedly took a frightening turn for the music. Furthermore, Stacey, you say the present prosecution peruses like a whore prosecution. What was generally surprising to you of every one of these charges? No doubt the reality, Jake, that the government in this prosecution introduced proof charging that Sean Combs was running a criminal endeavor. Insiders are murmuring that after a struggle with a strong gathering inside the jail, Diddy was purportedly attacked, and this wasn't a basic fight. What's being proposed is undeniably really upsetting a few sours. C's guarantee that this episode is being quieted by jail specialists who are frantic to stay away from the monstrous aftermath that would come from conceding they neglected to safeguard one of the most prominent detainees in the country. The jail's notoriety has previously been polluted by a long history of brutality, botch, what's more, dangerous circumstances. So another outrage could be devastating for those running the office. In the event that these tales are valid, it would make sense of why Diddy's lawful group is pushing so difficult to get him temporarily free from jail. They will take a stab at all that they're going to attempt to move him. They're going to attempt to get him out. You know, in an ordinary situation where it's a prominent individual or a very much financed individual, the indictment and the adjudicator is a bit more worried about an unjust arraignment, since individuals that are distraught that they're being captured for a wrongdoing they didn't commit can pivot at. And record for pernicious indictment, DA's group is apparently enraged, and they're not keeping silent about it, as indicated by sources near the case. His legal counselors have recorded a crisis movement requesting that Diddy be delivered on bail, quickly referring to the undeniable risk he faces while imprisoned. We are discussing somebody whose life is in danger. One insider near the legitimate group was cited saying this ought to never have occurred, and presently we need to manage the outcome of this disastrous blunder. The movement, which is supposed to be looked into before long, could possibly free Diddy from what his group is calling a hazardous circumstance. They're contending that given his status and the idea of the charges he's confronting, keeping him in jail presents a more serious gamble than beforehand. Perceived extraordinary lodging unit is a 24-hour lockdown unit, which actually intends that any development within that unit is controlled and composed, and no prisoner moves beyond his cell without being in full limitations to incorporate a leg irons, cuffs, a punch chain, and at least 2 on the off chance that not 3 staff individuals accompanying them. We should pause for a minute to discuss the MDC. The spot where Diddy's legitimate bad dream is unfolding is no common jail. The MADC in Brooklyn has been depicted by a lot of people as one of the hardest government detention focuses in the nation, and seeing why is not hard. This office has an infamous standing for savagery, abuse, and honestly disorder. It's where prominent detainees like Diddy should be remained careful from everyone. However, as per the narratives emerging, that well-being might be just a deception. Each prison is awful, and some correctional facilities are more awful than others, and the issue again is assuming that you move him. For what reason is he seeking exceptional treatment? And perhaps he's acquired extraordinary treatment, perhaps he's given such a huge amount back to his fans and to the world and to noble cause that perhaps there's a way that it works out eventually yet again to go into significant and say this prison is terrible moving to another prison, isn't it? Our first contention that is somewhat there have been various reports throughout the long stretches of fierce occurrences inside the MDC with a few detainees losing their lives during fights or languishing lethal wounds because of other detainees in 2020. For instance, the office stood out as truly newsworthy when a prisoner died following a rough conflict, igniting broad shock about the circumstances inside. Add to that the horrendous tales about an absence of legitimate clinical iteration packing. What's more, breaking down framework and nothing unexpected, Diddy's group is battling without holding back to get him out. Well, Sierra, anything's conceivable. Right, however, presently this judge has a considerably harder time, I think, on the grounds that the previous appointed authority secured him, didn't let him out, and he's still there, accessible for preliminary if the new adjudicator lets him out on bond, and something turns out badly, And this isn't the examination that I'm glad to make right. We ought not be saying great judges are stressed over their own skin. What's more, what they look like if something awful ends up exacerbating the situation. The MADC has likewise been reprimanded for its absence of sufficient staffing and its inability to shield prisoners from both physical and close-to-home damage during the level of the pandemic. The jail was hit hard by flare-ups, and there were reports of prisoners being saved in lockdown for extended periods frequently, with little admittance to essential necessities like showers, or, on the other hand, correspondence with the rest of the world. This set of experiences just extends the worry for Diddy's prosperity, particularly given the unpredictable idea of his prominent case. This must be a 100% culture shock. I can't envision carrying on with a way of life of the staggeringly rich and popular and afterward going into this extremely dim generic cold auster office. So what precisely happened to Diddy inside the MDC as per numerous sources? The subtleties of the occurrence are as yet dim yet. The tales are highlighting a conflict with a gathering inside the jail who supposedly exploited the way that Diddy was, at this point, not in defensive guardianship. Some are saying that Diddy had been engaged with a verbal fight, which immediately heightened. Others are recommending that this was a planned assault, conceivably even organized by rival groups inside the jail who saw Diddy's presence as a valuable chance to say something in a parcel of the proof that has been assembled for this situation was from those two assaults that were directed on his own homes in Miami and Los Angeles, and the prosecution names that the thing held onto that he purportedly made recordings of these exhibitions as that have been named freak-offs. One thing is clear. Whatever occurred inside the jail, it was serious enough for Diddy's lawful group to go into all-out attack mode. They're contending that the jail neglected to safeguard their client man, who is currently at a considerably more noteworthy risk than before. The jail in the interim is remaining hush about the entirety of the circumstances, declining to comment on the claims of an attack or on any moves. They're contending that the MDC is attempting to conceal their botches, expecting to stay away from an out-and-out embarrassment that could see heads moving at the most significant levels. Clients portray NBC as damnation as the most horrendously awful circumstances they've been in. And it's not only Diddy's group who are standing up jail, insiders are starting to spill data guaranteeing that this was a catastrophe holding up to happen he ought to never have been moved into. Everybody went insider said everybody realized this was a gamble that's what a gigantic objective. Another source added that the jail is presently scrambling to fix the harm, with some proposing that heads map I currently be moving behind the scenes. It's absolutely impossible that they can't move him into the overall public, and would he be in danger? Sure, he'd be in danger. There's such countless individuals that should go for broke, right? They will be in prison the rest of their lives. They don't have anything. They need their brief encounter with popularity. They were companions with Diddy, or they hurt Diddy, or they killed Diddy, they did. I mean, there's so many, individuals in prison that would this sound there, really? Second, you can't put them there. In addition, as Diddy's attorneys battle for his delivery, there's one more side in question that can't be overlooked. The public response? No mystery. Diddy's capture has energized fans and pundits the same. On one hand, you have his allies who are astonished by the gossipy tidbits about his attack. What's more, are calling for equity. On the other hand, you have the people who trust that Diddy's ongoing circumstance isn't anything more than karma at last finding him, after this is a man who has been blamed for a portion of the most egregious wrongdoings possible, and for some, the thought that he's presently experiencing. Subscribe Apple World for more videos.